This is the sales and go-to-market session. So just take a seat or come and join us. I'm joined by Catalina over here. In a lovely big booth, which is pretty cool. We're going to talk about sales and go-to-market, and we're going to welcome a whole bunch of questions there. So my name is James Dawson. I'm the CEO of Humble Technology. We're a go-to-market consulting firm. So we teach CEOs of software companies who sell to fintechs and banks how to write sales playbooks and how to write go-to-market and how to run sales teams. And I'm joined by Catalina, who works at Catalina. Tell us about yourself and then tell us how you got into fintech.
Thank you, James. So Catalina Vazquez, I head up what we call commercial strategy within SIX. So SIX, Tamsin mentioned earlier, has different business units. I look after the data business. So basically, everything that happens before getting a product out in the market, we would be looking at. So how to price it, how to help the product manager work out that idea, but also looking at the different areas that we should be on the lookout because that's where the market is going. So how to stay on top of these trends and make sure that we incorporate those things into our products. Basically, how I got into fintech. Well, most people will say, okay, I've had clarity on that career path. In my case, I would say it was by accident. So I'm originally from Argentina. I was actually spending the summer at home. I had zero plans for that summer. It's not that common to actually do internships back there during uni. And I was working at a friend's hotel. And it was fun. I was meeting, tourists, practicing my English. That was great. But actually, I realized that was not very close to what I was studying. I was studying economics. So I was like, I feel like I need to get some experience that's going to be hands-on. Little did I know that actually, working at a hotel, I was doing a little bit of sales back there without really having my job title in sales then. And then basically started looking and came across this company that actually turns out to be one of the largest data providers globally. By luck, or who knows, I got my first role and it was actually right next to the sales team. And I was actually doing the role of sales from very early on, going with sales to client meetings, trying to work out who to target, who are we going to go speak to, what is it that actually is driving these customers to look at us. So basically, that was kind of like my journey into it. And from then on, I've done different roles. I've done operations, I've done strategy, I've done M&A, and now commercial strategy. So working side by side with products as well as sales. So Matt, how did you get into this?
So I've a funny story. I'm from South Africa. I came to the UK in '97, and I spent my first 3 nights in the UK sleeping in a park because the job I had fell through, and I only had £40, and the hotel was £20 a night. So I slept in a park, clinging to my suitcase and my sleeping bag. And if you fast forward 15 years, I was running a business in capital market that was doing $300 million a year. So, how do you get into fintech? By accident, most of us get into fintech by accident. You fall around, you end up doing something. But it's important to be curious and to be interested in what you want to do. And it's important to take ownership for your own career path and your own progression, and to actually be relentless about finding something you love. And as some of the speakers earlier said today, it's important to find the type of company that you want to work for. If it's a big one, a small one, a medium one, all that kind of stuff. So one of the really interesting things about being in fintech is, as Matt said earlier, is you don't need to be a technologist to be in fintech. You can be in sales, you can be products, you can be in lots of different stuff. And I'd just like to ask a quick question to the audience today, because I see there haven't been many. Who in the audience here wants to be a CEO one day? Okay, that's quite a lot. Nice. Who in the audience wants to be in sales? Okay, that's not bad. And who here wants to make a big difference to the company they work in? Everyone, right? Okay. So just to kind of lead on from that, in my experience, if you want to make a really big difference to a company, there's two positions in the firm you can. The CEO can move strategy, they can move stuff around, they can change direction. The other role that is much easier, because most of you who want to be CEOs a lot of you won't become CEOs one day unless you set up your own small business. It's very difficult to become CEO of a big company unless you create your own thing, which is great. But the other most important way to make a huge contribution to the company you're working for is to be in sales. A salesperson, a single salesperson that doesn't have anyone reporting to them, can fundamentally change the direction of the company they're working in. You can sign up a big deal with a big bank or a big client. You can iterate on product. You're at the customer face where you're constantly talking to customers. You learn so quickly about whether your product is fitting into the market. A salesperson, I would argue, has as much ability to change and shape the future direction of the company as the CEO. So think about it from that perspective. Now I'm going to jump back to Catalina because we need to talk about what is the difference between sales and go-to-market.
Yeah, that's actually a great point. And actually, just to build on your point around sales, people often think like, oh, maybe, sales, that's like really high pressure, tough job to have. Yeah, I agree. You're constantly grinding, constantly trying to go for that next deal, constantly trying to push yourself harder and harder, right? But you can do that also in other roles. You can also help sales with their job, right? To be far more successful. And that's where go-to-market comes in. So go-to-market is actually all of the things that happen before that. So if I had to kind of like describe what go-to-market looks like, I mean, I'm going to give you here some hints for your challenges later on. I'm not going to give away everything. But basically, 3 things that maybe you might want to think about. And I'm not taking an example of fintech because, I'll be giving it all away. So basically, imagine you're planning a fun road trip with your friends. Let's just, illustrate that. So, okay, where are we going? Pick a place.
Barcelona.
Okay. James, I don't know why I keep calling you. Like, Matt, where are you? I can't see you, but
that's running the show.
Yeah, exactly. But you're running the show too. Hey. Anyway, okay, so here we go. Where are we going? Barcelona. Okay, so that's kind of like our final goal and destination, right? So let's think that getting to Barcelona is actually landing your big deal, right? You're getting that big client that actually you've been looking for. Now, okay, so how are we going to get there? What sort of route are we going to take?
Yeah, we need to get there as quick as possible.
Exactly. We need the money, right? Okay. So we need to get there as quickly as possible. So before we go off, and get a car and do all of that, we're going to have to plan this thing properly, right? So we're going to need to put together a strategy. So what are we going to do? What are the steps that we're going to take to get there? So what's the route that we're going to take? What's the right highway to take? Okay. So those are the things that we're going to think about along the way. And I'm going to have a think about who's coming on this trip.
Yeah, friends.
Friends? Okay. So
useful people.
Exactly. Some other useful people. So who else is coming? Okay. So what do my friends like? Yeah. I'm going to get to start thinking about what my friends like. What are the things that actually are going to make this trip enjoyable for everyone? Okay. So I'm going to build that product, right? I'm going to start to build that product in my head of this trip to Barcelona, right? So we're going to make maybe some stops, grab some wine, nice food. I'm going to have to think about the budget though, right? Not every friend has the same budget. Okay, so, what's the price point that's going to make sense for the different friends I'm bringing on this trip? Okay, another thing to think about. And then finally, how are we going to, make sure that that I get people excited about this, right? So, you'd think about, okay, we're launching a product. You need to promote it, right? Going back to the theory here, but you need to promote it, right? So what are the different channels that we can use? Partners. Are we going to bring +1s? Are we not?
Mm-hmm.
Are we going to go direct, sell our sales teams in? So am I the only one selling? Am I bringing friends along to try and sell the idea to other friends? So just have a think about kind of like what are the steps that you need to take to actually get to Barcelona or to get to that big deal at the end of it. So those are all of the things that happen in the background, which people tend to forget, but are very, very important to make sure that then the salesperson is actually successful at what they're doing.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I mean, most people in selling financial technology end up running around having a bunch of meetings over a period of 6 to 12 months, hoping that a deal is going to close. That's like not the way to do it. And don't be fooled into thinking that if I want to be in sales, I have to be charismatic. I have to be the guy who has the gift of the gab. I've got to, be good at networking, all that kind of stuff. You don't. The best salespeople I've met in my life are the people who are diligent, organized, and relentless in their precision about how they go about executing a deal and showing value to their customers. Don't think that sales is about closing deals. If you're selling mobile phones or bars or soap, sure, it's about closing deals. But when you're in enterprise technology, sales is about building value to your client over 12 to 18 to 20 to 36 months. Some of these deals take so long. You relentlessly building and showing value. You're never selling anything to anyone who doesn't need it. You're selling to people who genuinely benefit from your product. You're going to give them something that they're going to use and it's going to transform their business. That's what sales in fintech's about. It's not about running around closing deals as many as possible to make your company rich.
And I think one important thing also to think about is, might sound a bit cringe, I'm sorry, but actually we're selling all the time, right?
Yeah.
So when was the last time you had to maybe convince your partner of where are we going for dinner? Or, try and sell an idea to a friend going somewhere? You are actually selling all the time. You're selling yourself, you're selling an idea, you're, talking to yourself about, why did you come to this event today, right? Why are you interested in fintech? You sold that idea to yourself. So you've got the skills in you, right? So it's about how do you work through that to apply them to your day to day.
Yes. So does anyone have any questions? Does anyone want to hear a scary story about sales? Yeah. So like the first, you've got a question, yeah? Okay.
It was in regards to the strategy. When it comes to making a strategy, do you always have one clear plan, or is it good to have a plan A, plan B, just in case that method doesn't work?
Oh yeah, that's a good question. It depends on the stage of your company. If it's very early stage, you don't have time to make lots of different plans. But it's very important strategically to think about, firstly, who you're selling to. You've got a product, and you need to be very specific in who you're selling to. You can't sell a product to exchanges, banks, hedge funds, asset managers, all of them at the same time. They've got different legal teams, different procurement, different ways of buying, different use cases. You need to be very specific. If you think about Amazon and Google for the first 10 years of their existence, they did one thing very specifically. All I'm doing is selling books for 10 years. I don't really care about books that much, but I'm going to use selling books to learn how to sell everything else in this way. So you have to be very, very focused in the beginning and not too broad. Most companies go bankrupt not because they can't raise enough money, but because they fail to execute sales properly. So, and in order to sell, you have to focus relentlessly on the types of customers that have genuine benefit and genuine business value from your product, and you have to go after them until you've got enough cash flow to build your business and start going after other stuff. It's all about focus.
And actually, it's a great question because actually, strategy is another word that's thrown around quite a lot. So what is strategy really? So it's kind of what is the goal I'm trying to achieve, right? And then what are the steps I'm going to take to actually get to that goal? So it's literally having that goal in mind. Okay, I'm going to sell to hedge funds and I'm going to try and solve this particular problem. Okay, how am I going to get there? What are the steps that need to happen so I can get to that goal?
Yes, other questions?
Has there been any challenges that you faced, and if you have been through those challenges, how did you overcome them?
Yeah, that's another good question. Relentless enthusiasm, optimism, over exuberance, underestimating my inability, overestimating all of that, right? So, interesting story. I was in a very large company, and I was part of a team that built a product that went from 0 to 300 million in revenue within 3 years. I ran most of that, and then when I left that company, big brand, I joined a small startup. And it was a nightmare trying to sell a piece of software with no brand behind you. And we were literally burning money. It was crazy. It took me 13 months to close the first tiny deal, 120 grand, and we were 2 weeks away from running out of money. And then a month later, I closed the second deal for 150, and we were literally days and days from running out of money. It's like you just have to keep going. You just can't stop. And today that company is probably worth about 300 or 400 million. They're still there, and they're doing really well. But it's about some of the people in the other talks have said about you have to be curious, you have to be innovative, you have to constantly be trying to iterate and do new stuff. Whenever you find yourself in a role or a new business, no one's done what you've done before. There is no playbook for it. You just have to try your best, have that extreme ownership to make it work. So there was a question.
What do you do to help articulate yourself when you're selling to clients?
Oh, how do you articulate yourself? It really starts for me. Like selling is never about selling anything to someone who doesn't need it or doesn't want it. It's about finding that customer that genuinely benefits from what you have. So the way I sell is I will go into a firm knowing that they need my stuff and have a very open conversation around the business value of that product. And I will ask the person on the other side of the table a bunch of questions that'll, if they answer in the affirmative, leads them back to the fact that I can deliver business value with the product I have. That's what I do. It sounds very simple, but most people don't do that. They go into a meeting, they've got a slide deck and a demo, and they rinse and repeat, and they hope that the guy on the other side of the desk is going to pick something in the slide deck or the demo that works. But if you're an elite salesperson, you figure out what the business value is, and then you ask very specific questions that if the person says no, they don't need your product, fine, you walk away, leave them alone. If they say yes, then you can help them.
And actually, key there, like with anything, right? Do your homework. Make sure you've done your homework, you've done your research, you understand who you're going to talk to and what potentially will drive them, right? And be curious and ask those questions, because the worst thing that you can do is go in and, as you were saying, just pitch them something they don't need.
Don't ever show.
You'll shut the door, right?
Yeah. Don't show up to someone's business and ask them, like, tell me about your business.
Yeah.
That's super junior. Don't do that. No, know their business. Or don't do the meeting.
Yeah.
Sorry, there's a question. Look at it.
Hi. So I think coming from an engineering background, how do I say? So we had a lecture once where like they put up a meme saying like, all right, this is what like engineers see a product. And this is how like a salesperson sees the product, which could be like completely different things.
It is.
And I just want to ask from your perspective, how would you wish to like bridge that gap between like communication between, say someone who's like making a product and someone who's selling the products?
Mm-hmm.
So I think it goes back to Catalina's go-to-market stuff. You shouldn't be building stuff. And in the talk we had before this as well, or the one earlier, we shouldn't be building stuff that people don't need or want to buy. And engineers like building stuff because they like building stuff. And because they find it intellectually interesting. And like I think Mac over there said earlier, that we should be building stuff that's genuinely useful, it's solving a use case in the market.
Yep.
And salespeople want to be selling that. Right? They don't want to be selling something that no one needs. So there is tension between sales and engineering, and it's interesting they need to work together.
Yeah, I mean, welcome to my world. Literally, that's bridging the gap between what sales are hearing from the customer and what product is building and what technology is building. So communication, literally, just being that person that you're bringing people together and pulling the strings to try and make sure that people are talking to each other and we're all in agreement and then moving forward in the right direction. So communication there. So mastering that skill, very important.
Cool. Are we doing still have time?